All right, baseball's winter meetings continue here in Nashville, Tennessee, with Indians team president Mark Shapiro. Mark, new manager, new coaching staff, save Sandy Alomar.
Right.
Does that create new energy, new direction for the ball club?
Absolutely. I think not just for the ball club. You know, it's got an impact upon the entire organization. So Terry's a guy that's made his presence known right away. Went out immediately to instruction league, spent time with our scouts and our player development staff. Then brought in the new big league staff last week into Cleveland. They had a series of meetings. He's met with our front office staff, got the entire organization. I think this is a guy that brings that dynamic to the entire organization. And I think those ripples are the ones that we expect to play out throughout the clubhouse in spring training and hopefully into the Indians and Cleveland community over time as well.
You've known him for a number of years. There was obviously a comfort level going in when you had the interview process. He identified you guys as, people he wanted to work with. What will fans see from Terry Francona as far as an impact or an imprint that he'll make on the upcoming baseball season, on the club in particular?
Well, I think for one thing, he's extremely positive. He's very consistent. And those two things may sound simple, but in the reality of baseball, when you play 162 games, and even when you're really good, you lose 60, 65 games.
Yeah.
Staying consistent and staying positive are two separators. They're differentiators. And I think what's most important about those attributes are they impact players. When a player walks in and feels that extra added pressure, they don't need any extra added pressure. It's hard enough to play the game of baseball. Failure is such an inherent part of baseball that, the power of someone that is positive, that is consistent, that players do genuinely feel is behind them and pulling for them. That has a leadership impact, and I think that's what we were looking for with a hire like this. He has the leverage to be able to impact more than one player, to be able to impact multiple players.
Baseball's winter meetings, you're a veteran of these things. You know how the song and dance works.
Oh.
It seems like, and I suppose every year is different because it has its own sort of unique set of circumstances on what could break, but this year in particular, it seems like everybody's waiting for the couple of big free agent names to sign, and then maybe a logjam of activity will break loose. So do you get a feel for how things are going along right now?
Every winter meetings has its own rhythm. I was talking to Josh Burns, who's the general manager of the Padres, and was with us for a while earlier today, and you just can't choreograph how it goes. You never know. You can sit and have a bunch of conversations with no real leads, and then the last 6 to 8 hours sometimes you make a big deal. So a ton of conversation. I think it would be hard for fans to understand how many conversations Chris and our baseball operations staff are having, not just with clubs, with agents too. I do think you're right. There are probably a couple of big pieces that are going to kind of break the tide, and then once that happens, I think a bunch of other things can fall into place. But the winter meetings do still occur at a relatively early part of the offseason. There's still a lot of offseason left to play out.
I learned something today that I had never known before, and that is there was a time, and I don't think it's all that long ago, maybe 20, 25 years ago, where you could not make interleague trades once the season began. So at one time, the winter meetings was sort of a true swap meet. If you're going to get deals done, this was the place to do it. So the winter meetings in and of itself has really evolved and changed over the years too, hasn't it?
I mean, I don't remember that, so that probably was more than 20 years ago because these are my 21st winter meetings. But I tell you, the atmosphere has changed dramatically over time. It used to be the lobby was mostly just baseball people, and the lobby now is obviously full of a broad variety of job seekers and other people. Right. It's still, though, something special about it. I mean, I'm 21 years in the game. I walk through the halls, you see people that you've dealt with your whole career. For it being a highly public business, it's still a business that's pretty insular because there are only 30 teams in the world. There were only 26 teams when I first came in. So the paths you cross and the people you see, which are really the basis and the foundation for doing deals, because it's a relationship-based industry, are all in one hotel together. That's a positive. Your competitive juices get flowing when you're in one hotel together too, and you start hear your competitors are making deals, and you start thinking about that. So it's a unique environment. Still is a unique time of year for baseball people. All
right, I have a question to ask you too. In your new role as team president, this is more of a broad scope question, but for as far back as I can remember, the New York Yankees have always been the #1 payroll. They were always the big spenders. Now you got a new bully coming into the business. The Dodgers are throwing money around like crazy. It looks like they're now going to have the biggest payroll in baseball. Is what the Dodgers are doing, is it good for baseball? Is it making it more challenging now for clubs like the Indians and everybody else?
I think the Dodgers in and of itself are probably not a reflection of anything other than unique, market dynamics and what's happening there. I do think that, there is a broadening divide, that maybe they are an exaggerated snapshot of that divide. But, their rights fee goes to $290, even if, we get national TV money that everybody else gets, and maybe our rights fee goes up by, some percentage. It's a never-ending battle. The reality is that, we still have to focus on doing it the way we do it, that changes that will come our way may incrementally help us, whereas the changes that came their way are completely redesigning the way they build a team. We'll have to see over time whether these are meaningful trends and lasting ones. But, what I've seen in the baseball landscape over the past 3-4 years is that for the small to mid-market clubs, they can win, but you're doing it in cycles. The largest market clubs have resources like that. You can artificially spend your way through the dips and stay out of the cycles.
And interestingly enough, right within the Central Division, the Tigers have shown sort of an ability to throw off the curve, because Mike Ilitch has made it known he wants to win a championship very badly, and they're probably spending beyond their means, as crazy as that sounds, but it hasn't stopped them either. And again, you wonder, how does that impact the Indians, the Royals, the Twins? Everybody
runs their club with different operational parameters. The Tigers happen to be a model that's unlike any other in baseball. Usually, teams spend to their revenues or a little beyond. And just so happens that baseball's system, there are teams that have enormous revenues because the local revenue is so disparate, because just of size of cities and households. The Tigers don't necessarily, use their local revenue to determine their spend. That's their owner's operational circumstances. Again, I think we have to be cognizant of the challenges that exist, but I think we have to be careful not to let them be excuses, and we have to figure out a way within that to still win.
And again, this is a time where we've seen teams already, you look at the Marlins and the trades that they've made, and teams are reshaping their entire rosters. Is that unique to you within the winter meetings? I mean, you always see trades, but we're talking about some mega deals we've seen.
I think the one thing that definitely is unique, the amount of money that changed hands between the Red Sox and Dodgers deal and the Marlins recent deal. Those deals and the magnitude of those deals, with Toronto and the deal that the Marlins made with the Dodgers, I can never remember a time that those types of dollars and those types of players transferred in singular trades.
Well, it's certainly interesting, and it certainly figures to continue to be interesting throughout the rest of these winter meetings and the offseason. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us.
All right, my pleasure.
Appreciate catching up with you. Indians Team President Mark Shapiro with us. Our coverage of the winter meetings here in Nashville will continue in a little while.